Happy Valentine's Day. Listen, we love you all. So it's a big, warm, fuzzy day for all of us. And we'll start with that nice, warm, fuzzy breakfast that has been so loving. We compared what Marika and her let's do that first, and then after that, I'll do a bit of sharing, and I got some questions I want to ask you. I want to get some feedback. Here, Paul? Again, everybody. I want to do a little bit of sharing, and then I get some ideas from you. I want to begin by telling you what I think was a good kind of story. John Livingston, anybody here know John lives up in Harrington Place, the long-term care? No, nobody, okay. I don't think he's here, so I can tell the story. Anyhow, he turned 100 about 3 weeks ago. And the Premier was in town, and he did a lunch with the Rotary Club downtown, and then he and I went to Shannon Village down in Westdale. We spent about 2 hours there talking to 24 seniors, and it was a wonderful day. I can tell you. The seniors were all over him, and he was all over them, and it was a lot of fun. And we got a lot of good ideas, a lot of good feedback. And we had the obligatory certificate from the Premier, and just wanted to say hi. And I thought, well, I'd be smart. I'd be a smart aleck. So I went in and I said, Dr. Livingston, I presume. And he said, yes. And it turns out that he was the 8th cousin, way back, of Dr. Livingston, you know, classic line, and you know, so here I thought I was being funny, but and he said, you've done some good research, haven't you? So I thought it was kind of cute. Anyhow, he's doing well. He's 100, and anybody here 100? Yeah. Anyhow, just a brief overview, and then I want to hear some comments from you. As you probably know, the last couple of years have been a challenge for governments around the world. We've been through arguably the worst economic crisis globally in the last 80 years. And in Ontario's case, we had some tough choices to make. We could sort of batten down the hatches and do very little, or we could invest in stimulus infrastructure projects and try to maintain as best we could the strong public services that we have in the province. And we decided to do the latter. We did that. We made an investment, as many other countries did. And as a result of that, as of last week, we recovered 95.1% of the jobs we lost in the recession, compared to just under 14% in the States. So it appears to have been a prudent investment. We also invested heavily in protecting the auto industry. You may remember that big discussion whether we would or not? And we did. We came to the table with about $4.7 billion of assistance for the auto sector. By the way, every cent of that's now been paid back. The loans that we made to the auto sector, which is significant. Today in Ontario, we are the #1 jurisdiction in all of North America in terms of automobile production and sales. We don't build them for Canadians. There aren't that many Canadians here to buy them. But we're exporting about 83% of them to the States. So in the process of doing that, we believe that we probably saved about 400,000 direct and related jobs. So we've also tried to make some strategic investments in healthcare. In 2002, the Fraser Institute, now for those of you who know the Fraser Institute, they're not usually very liberal friendly, right? Mike Harris is the vice president of the group. But they said in 2002 that Ontario had the worst medical and surgical wait times in the country. They said 2 months ago that today Ontario has the very best wait time regime in Ontario. So we've made a lot of strategic investments there, and we even have a website where you can go and check and see where you can go to get your surgery done a little quicker. You're prepared to be flexible. And there are more MRI machines, and by the way, they're now running. One of the things that you suggested a year or so ago is run the MR machines around the clock, so people don't have to go to Buffalo to get the MRI and their CPI and their XYZ and all that sort of, and so we're doing that now. A fellow called me the other day, he was grumbling a little bit because he had to go into the Henderson at 2 a.m. in the morning for his MRI test. And then at the end he said, well, it's not that bad. He said, Pete's driving to Buffalo and staying overnight. So in the healthcare front, we made some progress. A lot more to do. We doubled the investment in home care because research shows that seniors, even if they're palliative, want to spend their time at home, surrounded by the people that they love and by people who love them. Mary from the CCAC knows all about that. These are some challenges. So over the last 7 years or so, we've more than doubled the amount of investment in the home care area. And my bias isn't to build 40,000 new long-term care beds. My bias is to double the amount of investment we have in home care again. Mary, you would agree? I suggested that to the Premier last week, and in response to that, well, I'll tell you one more thing, and I'll tell you what the Premier said. The other thing is in the area of what is important is that your government has made a historic investment of $6.4 billion, the largest investment, frankly, since Bill Davis was Premier, right? And Bill, the education Premier, I give him credit for that, great guy. Today there are 42,000 new students in post-secondary education. Why is that important? It's important because that's our future. Okay, every one of us are going to rely on having an economy that is strategically competitive in the global economy. Money can move all over, so unless we, based on research, we can be innovative and create high-quality jobs for our kids and our grandkids, we're in trouble. And speaking of our kids and our grandkids, it starts early. Dr. Charles Pascal, who he and I have something in common. My very first political experience was working on Bobby Kennedy's campaign in 1968 in the States. And he worked on his campaign in Indiana. We sort of met up. He's our guru around early childhood education. He tells us that, according to studies, that 28% of the kids who show up in grade 1, which is the first year you're required to go to school, are not cognitively, linguistically, or emotionally ready for school. And that 40% of those kids never catch up, shall we? They become part of the cycle. So we need to break that. And the best way to break that, that we know from international research, is to try to give our kids the best start, which is why we moved to make some, I think we're investing slightly over $1 billion in the early school full-day learning for 4- and 5-year-olds, because we know down the road, in terms of the global economy, you know, if they're better equipped, right, they'll be able to get better jobs and they'll be more innovative. And so we're doing some of that. But back 180 degrees to the Premier, and we're down in Shalom Village, and we're talking, getting some ideas. And I've been on the Premier. We had our caucus and our provincial council up in Ottawa last week, and said to him that, yeah, it's really important what we're doing on the Best Start, but it's really important, even more, perhaps more important, that we make sure that our health care is strong for our seniors, that you get the kind of health care you need when you need it. And I've experienced that recently, as some of you may know. It's a great health care system when you need it. Some room for improvement, but we're working on that. And he said to me, he said, Ted, he said, I would like you to do me a favor. He said, I'd like you, because you seem to have a feel for this. You used to be the parliamentary assistant to the minister responsible for seniors. I said, yeah. He said, you seem to have a feel for it. And, you know, they obviously know you well down here in Shalom Village. He said, I'd like you to take some time over the next 6-8 weeks to touch base with as many seniors as you can, and to ask them what they'd like to see their government do in the next little bit. So the question I have, and we'll open it up, and I won't say anything more other than to nod or engage you in saying more about your ideas, is what's the single most important thing that you'd like to see your government, provincial government, do that would benefit you, your children,